I know what you might be thinking right now, clicking on a video with a title like this. Great, another self-help guru promising to change my life with a few simple habits. And honestly, I get it. I really do. Especially now. Especially when you turn on the news and the world feels chaotic, when you look at the economy and feel a knot tighten in your stomach, when the grocery bills keep climbing and the mortgage payment feels heavier than it did a year ago. You're likely asking yourself a very fair question: how can a video about habits possibly help with any of that? And you know what? You're right to be skeptical. You're right to feel that a simple to-do list seems inadequate in the face of real-world pressure. Because let's be perfectly honest with each other, waking up 30 minutes earlier isn't going to magically pay down your credit card debt. Journaling for 5 minutes a night isn't going to fix the global supply chain or make your job less stressful. If anyone tells you that, they aren't respecting the complexity of your life. This video isn't about finding a magic wand. It's about something far more real and far more powerful. It's about forging the tools that have been left to rust inside of us. The tools of mental clarity, of emotional resilience, and most importantly, the unwavering, unshakable tool of self-trust. It's about building a foundation so solid within yourself that when the storms of life hit, and they will hit, you don't collapse. You bend, you adapt, and you endure. You find the clarity to make better financial decisions, even when you're stressed. You find the resilience to lead your family with a steady hand, even when you're uncertain. You find the self-trust to know that you have what it takes to navigate the path ahead. These are not just theories I read in a book. These are the 5 foundational habits that I personally used to pull myself out of a period of feeling completely overwhelmed, reactive, and adrift. They helped me stop being a passive spectator to my own life and start taking back the steering wheel, one small, intentional day at a time. This is not about changing your life in a week. It's about starting a practice that can fortify your life for years to come. And that practice, that first step in reclaiming your power, begins with the one resource we all have, but most of us give away before the day has even truly begun: our mornings. 1. Reclaim your mornings. Let's talk about that sound. That jarring, intrusive buzz or beep of the alarm clock that rips you from the warmth of sleep. For so many of us, what's the very first feeling of the day? It's not peace. It's not gratitude. It's a jolt of panic. A sudden, visceral awareness that you are already behind. The race has started, and you're still at the starting line, fumbling to find your shoes. The kids need to be woken up, the emails from your boss are already flooding your inbox, the dog needs to be let out, and the mental checklist of 1,000 obligations for the day ahead begins to scroll through your mind like a runaway train. Does that sound familiar? That feeling of starting your day in a defensive crouch, simply reacting to whatever crisis screams the loudest? You rush through a shower, you gulp down coffee while scrolling through stressful news headlines, you yell at the kids to hurry up. By the time you walk out the door or sit down at your home office desk, you're not starting your day. You're just trying to survive it. Your nervous system is already frayed, your patience is already thin, and you haven't even truly begun. This isn't a sign of laziness, it's a symptom of a life that feels dictated by external demands, a life where you have ceded the first, most precious moments of your day to chaos. This is why our first habit isn't just about waking up early. That phrase has been beaten to death by productivity gurus. We need to reframe it. This is about a deliberate, powerful act of defiance. This is about reclaiming your mornings. It is about drawing a line in the sand and declaring that the first 60 minutes of your day belong to you, and you alone. This isn't about cramming more work into your day. It's about carving out a sacred, silent space to fortify your mind before the world tries to tear it down. So how do we do this, practically? Especially when you're already exhausted? The secret to a successful morning doesn't start when the alarm goes off. It starts the night before. You have to win the night to win the morning. This means creating what I call a shutdown ritual. For 30 minutes before you intend to go to sleep, you begin to gently close the door on the day. You set out your clothes for tomorrow, your work clothes, your gym clothes. The psychological impact of this simple act is profound. You've just eliminated your first decision of the next day, a decision you used to make in a groggy fog. You pack your work bag, your lunch, your gym bag. You've just shaved off 10 minutes of frantic searching in the morning. You take 5 minutes to tidy one small space, maybe the kitchen counter or the living room coffee table. You're signaling to your brain that the day is complete, that order has been established. And most critically, you look at your calendar for tomorrow. No surprises. You know what awaits you, and you can mentally prepare. This ritual isn't about adding more chores, it's about offloading the mental burden of tomorrow, so you can actually rest tonight. Then, when you wake up, and yes, you must move your alarm clock across the room to force a physical commitment, you honor the buffer. This new 30 or 60 minutes of time is a no-fly zone for external input. No email. No social media. No news. The world can wait. The very first thing you do is connect with yourself. Drink a full glass of water. Your body is dehydrated after hours of sleep. Then, for just 5 minutes, stretch. You don't need a yoga routine, just reach for the sky, touch your toes, roll your neck. Wake up the body that carries you through life. Then, simply sit. Sit in silence with your coffee or tea for 5 minutes. You don't have to meditate in a formal sense. Just be. Notice the quiet. Notice the taste of your drink. This is the foundation. Hydrate, move, be still. Now, this isn't just some feel-good, mystical advice. There is a profound biological reason why this act of reclaiming your morning is so powerful. In the world of science, we all have something called a chronotype, which is our body's natural disposition to be a morning person or an evening person. And while we all have our tendencies, research shows that pushing ourselves toward the morning side of the spectrum has incredible benefits for our mental health. A landmark study published in the prestigious journal JAMA Psychiatry looked at the genetic data of nearly 1 million people. What they found was astonishing. Those of us who are genetically wired as evening types have a significantly higher risk of suffering from major depression. But here's the hopeful part, the part that proves our actions matter. The researchers calculated that shifting your sleep midpoint just 1 hour earlier, say, from 3 a.m. to 2 a.m., was associated with a staggering 23% lower risk of depression. Let that sink in. This isn't just about feeling less rushed. This is a legitimate, evidence-based strategy to actively protect your mind. I want to share a story with you. A few years ago, I was facing a significant financial challenge. A major unexpected expense came up, and it threw our family budget into a tailspin. The stress was immense. During the day, whenever I tried to sit down and figure it out, my heart would pound, my mind would race with worst-case scenarios, and I'd feel completely paralyzed. I'd just shut the laptop and distract myself with something else, pushing the anxiety down for another day. It was a vicious cycle. So, I decided to use the morning. I started getting up at 5 a.m., long before my wife and kids were awake, long before the first email notification would buzz on my phone. In the total silence of the house, I would make a simple cup of coffee, sit at the kitchen table with just a notebook, a pen, and a calculator. There was no pressure. No deadline. It was just me and the problem. The first day, I just wrote down all the numbers, our income, our expenses, the big scary number of the debt. The fear was still there, but in the stillness of the morning, it was quieter. It wasn't a roaring monster, it was just a number on a page. The second morning, I started brainstorming solutions, writing down every possible idea, no matter how small or silly it seemed. By the third morning, I had a plan. A real, actionable, step-by-step plan. The profound part wasn't the plan itself. It was the feeling that I, not the chaos, was in control. I had faced the scary thing in an environment that I had deliberately and peacefully created for myself. I had taken the monster out of the dark and looked at it in the calm light of dawn. That feeling of empowerment, born in those quiet, reclaimed mornings, was worth more than any productivity hack I've ever tried. Reclaiming your morning isn't about adding more to your plate. It's about creating the space to handle what's already there with more grace, more clarity, and more control. And that newfound sense of control and energy is the perfect fuel for our next foundational habit, moving your body to truly shift your mind. 2. Move your body, shift your mind. So, you've begun to reclaim your mornings. You've created a small pocket of stillness, a moment of control before the world rushes in. You have this newfound energy, this quiet potential simmering within you. But where do you direct it? For many of us, especially as we navigate our 30s, 40s, and beyond, there's a familiar antagonist that shows up uninvited, a pervasive sense of lethargy. It's that 2 p.m. slump that feels less like a slump and more like hitting a brick wall. It's the stiffness in your back when you stand up after a long meeting. It's the mental fog that seems to hover, making clear thought feel like a struggle. And what are the stories we tell ourselves? I'm too tired to exercise. I just don't have the time between work and the kids. My knee has been acting up. I'll start on Monday. And these aren't just lazy excuses. They are the genuine expressions of a life that is demanding and draining. We feel we're in a state of energy debt, and the idea of expending more energy through exercise seems utterly illogical. We see it as a punishment for what we ate, or a vain attempt to fit into old clothes for a high school reunion. But I want you to completely throw that definition of exercise out the window. We are not talking about punishing workouts or chasing an idealized body. This next habit is a profound tool for mental and emotional management. We are going to move your body to shift your mind. This is about using the incredible, built-in biological machinery of your body to fundamentally change the way you think and feel, every single day. The first and most critical step is to redefine what exercise even means. We have been conditioned to believe it's an all-or-nothing game. If it's not a 1-hour, high-intensity CrossFit class that leaves you breathless on the floor, it doesn't count. This is a destructive myth. The goal here is not intensity, it is consistency. I want you to make a simple, non-negotiable contract with yourself, 20 minutes a day. That's it. Less than a single episode of that show you watch on Netflix. 20 minutes of deliberate movement. What does that look like? It can be anything. It could be a brisk walk around your neighborhood while listening to a podcast. It could be putting on your favorite music from college and dancing in the kitchen while you wait for water to boil. It could be a beginner's yoga video you find for free on YouTube, done in your living room. It could be 10 minutes of simple bodyweight exercises, squats, push-ups against the counter, lunges, right beside your desk to break up the workday. The form is less important than the function. The function is to show up for yourself. To defeat the "I don't have time" excuse, we need a powerful strategy called habit stacking, a concept popularized by author James Clear. You anchor your new habit of movement to a habit that is already firmly in place. For example, immediately after my morning cup of coffee, I will do 15 minutes of stretching. Or, the moment I close my laptop at the end of the workday, I will change into my walking shoes and walk around the block twice. By linking the new behavior to an established one, you remove the need for willpower and decision-making. It simply becomes the next thing you do. I encourage you to experiment. Try hiking one weekend, cycling the next. Find the thing that sparks a flicker of joy, the thing that feels less like a chore and more like a form of release. That is the movement you will stick with. And if the idea of release isn't enough to get you moving, let's talk about the hard, undeniable science of what daily movement does to your brain. You've heard of endorphins, but let's be more specific. Think of them as your body's own high-end pharmacy, dispensing natural pain relievers and mood elevators on demand. When you engage in physical activity, your body releases these chemicals, which interact with receptors in your brain to reduce your perception of pain and trigger a positive feeling in the body, similar to that of morphine. But it's even more profound than that. Let's go back to that massive study I mentioned earlier from the Lancet Psychiatry. That study of 1.2 million Americans didn't just find a vague link between exercise and happiness. It found that, on average, people who exercised regularly reported having 43.2% fewer days of poor mental health in a given month. Let that number really land. That isn't a small, marginal improvement. That is the statistical equivalent of cutting the number of your bad days nearly in half. And the benefits weren't just for elite athletes. The study showed that even 30 to 60 minutes of movement, 3 to 5 times a week, was optimal. Activities as simple as walking, cycling, and even doing yard work were associated with huge reductions in mental health burden. This is one of the most powerful antidepressant and anti-anxiety medications known to humankind, and it is available to you right now, for free. I'll never forget a particularly brutal week I had at work a while back. We were on a tight deadline for a major project, and a critical error had just been discovered. The pressure was immense. I spent 2 days chained to my desk, fueled by stale coffee and anxiety, staring at the same problem, getting nowhere. I was stuck in a mental loop of stress and frustration, convinced that the only solution was to work more hours, to force my brain to comply. By the third afternoon, I was completely fried. I felt a tension headache building and a sense of despair setting in. On a whim, remembering a promise I had made to myself, I did something that felt totally counterintuitive. I stood up, put on my sneakers, and walked out of the building. I told myself, just 20 minutes. The problem will still be here when you get back. As I walked, I wasn't trying to solve the problem. I was just focusing on the rhythm of my feet hitting the pavement, the feeling of the cool air on my face, the simple act of breathing in and out. For the first 5 minutes, my mind was still racing. But then, something shifted. The rhythm of my body began to suit the frantic pace of my mind. By the time I got back to my desk, the knot of anxiety in my chest had loosened. The problem on my screen was the same, but my perspective had fundamentally changed. The mental fog had lifted, and in that newfound clarity, I saw a simple, elegant solution that had been completely invisible to me just 30 minutes earlier when I was drowning in stress. The walk didn't magically solve the problem. The walk created the mental state in which the problem could finally be solved. That is the power of this habit. Daily movement is not a debt you owe your body for the food you ate. It is a powerful tool you gift your mind every single day. It is the key that unlocks a calmer, clearer, and far more capable version of yourself. And once that mental fog lifts, you'll find you have so much more to say, so much more to process. Which brings us, perfectly, to our third habit, the art of giving those thoughts a place to land. 3. The unsent letter. So now, your mind is clearer from the quiet of the morning, and your body is energized from daily movement. But what do you do with that newfound clarity? What do you do with the thoughts, the worries, the old resentments, and the brilliant, fleeting ideas that are still swimming around in there? For most of us, our mind feels like an overstuffed closet. We just keep shoving more things in, more worries, more responsibilities, more unresolved conversations, until the door barely closes. And every so often, it all comes tumbling out at the worst possible moment, usually at 3 a.m. We carry around the weight of unspoken words, unfinished business, and anxieties we can't even fully name. And when someone suggests journaling, the word itself can feel a bit flimsy, can't it? It sounds like something for a teenager writing about a high school crush, not for a grown adult trying to navigate a mortgage, a potential career pivot, or the complexities of a long-term relationship. It can feel self-indulgent or like another chore on an already endless to-do list. I want you to completely discard the word journaling. Instead, I want you to think of this next habit as the practice of the unsent letter. Imagine a simple notebook. This notebook is not a diary to record events. It is a private, raw, unfiltered conversation with the only person who will ever truly understand you, and the only person you can be absolutely, brutally honest with, yourself. It is a physical space for your thoughts, a sanctuary where you can be messy, angry, confused, hopeful, and terrified without any fear of judgment or consequence. It's a letter you write to yourself, that you will never, ever send. So, how do you begin this practice? Let's make it as simple as possible. First, the tools. You do not need a fancy, leather-bound, $100 notebook. In fact, that can be intimidating. Go to the store and buy a simple, cheap spiral notebook and a pen that feels comfortable in your hand. That's it. The barrier to entry must be zero. And I strongly recommend writing by hand rather than typing. The physical act of forming letters is slower, more deliberate. It connects to your brain in a different way, forcing a level of mindfulness that typing often bypasses. Next, make a contract with yourself, just like with exercise, 10 minutes. That's all. Before you go to bed, after the house is quiet, set a timer for 10 minutes. Your only goal is to keep the pen moving across the page for that entire time. What do you write? This is where most people get stuck. So here are a few powerful prompts to get you started. If your mind is blank, start with the simplest one, the brain dump. Just write the heading, "What's on my mind right now," and let it flow. Write about your annoying coworker, your worry about the car making a funny noise, your pride in your child's drawing, the great conversation you had with your spouse. No filter. No judgment. Just get it out of your head and onto the page. For a more structured approach, use the 3 questions framework each night. Question 1, what drained my energy today? This isn't about complaining, it's about diagnosis. It helps you identify the hidden stressors in your life. Question 2, what small lesson did I learn today? This primes your brain for a growth mindset, to find the teaching in every experience. And question 3, what is one thing, no matter how small or insignificant it seems, that I am grateful for? The warmth of your coffee, a 5-minute chat with a friend, the fact that the traffic wasn't as bad as usual. This simple question is a powerful antidote to the negativity bias that our brains are wired for. And for those bigger, deeper anxieties that keep you up at night, I want you to try a technique inspired by the work of Tim Ferriss called fear setting. Write down the thing you are most anxious about. Then, answer these questions. 1. What is the absolute worst-case scenario if this fear came true? Define it in detail. 2. What could I do to prevent that from happening? And 3. If the worst-case scenario did happen, what steps could I take to repair the damage? This exercise takes a vague, terrifying cloud of anxiety and turns it into a concrete, manageable problem with potential solutions. It gives you a sense of control. This process of translating your chaotic, swirling thoughts into the structured, linear form of written language is not just a cathartic, feel-good exercise. It has a measurable, physiological effect on your brain and your body. In scientific circles, this is known as expressive writing, a field pioneered by Dr. James Pennebaker at the University of Texas. Here's the simple version of how it works. When we experience stressful or traumatic events, our brains can get stuck trying to make sense of them. This can lead to what psychologists call rumination, that endless, exhausting, and destructive loop of replaying negative events and thoughts over and over again. It's like a computer with a corrupted file that it keeps trying, and failing, to open. Expressive writing helps the brain to finally organize the chaos. By giving the experience a beginning, a middle, and an end, by creating a coherent story, you allow your brain to process it, integrate it, and file it away properly, freeing up immense cognitive and emotional resources. Dozens of studies have shown that this simple practice, done consistently, can lead to a significant reduction in depressive symptoms, fewer stress-related visits to the doctor, lower blood pressure, and even improved immune system function. It is a form of powerful, self-administered therapy that is available to you anytime, for free. I'll share a personal story. Several years ago, I was blindsided when I was let go from a job I had poured my heart and soul into for nearly a decade. It wasn't just about losing a paycheck, it felt like my entire identity had been erased overnight. I was that guy from that company. Without it, who was I? The first week was a fog of humiliation and a white-hot anger that had nowhere to go. My thoughts were a toxic, chaotic stew, and I was impossible to be around. I couldn't think clearly enough to even begin to figure out what to do next. On the advice of a friend, I started writing. That first night, my notebook was filled with nothing but angry, rambling, incoherent rage. It was ugly. The second night was more of the same. But by the third or fourth night, sitting there in the quiet, something started to shift. The red-hot anger on the page started to look repetitive. Underneath it, another emotion began to surface, sadness. And then, underneath the sadness, real questions began to form. What part of that job did I truly love? What parts did I secretly hate but put up with for the sake of security? What was I really afraid of, now that the safe path had vanished? That notebook became the place where I disentangled my identity from my job title. It was where I performed the slow, painful, but necessary surgery of separating my self-worth from my net worth. It was where I could write, I am not just a senior manager. I am a father. I am a husband. I am a decent cook. I am a guy who can fix a leaky faucet. I am a problem solver. The journal didn't get me a new job. But it restored the man who was capable of finding one. It gave me the clarity and the sense of self I needed to begin searching not just for any job, but for the right one. This notebook is not a record of your life. It is a sanctuary for your mind. A place where you can be messy, where you can be angry, where you can be hopeful, and where you can be completely, totally honest. We're more than halfway through now. And I am genuinely curious, of the 3 habits we've discussed so far, reclaiming your morning, moving your body, or this practice of writing, which one feels like it could make the biggest difference for you right now, and which one feels like the biggest challenge? Let me know in the comments below. Your story matters, and we can all learn from each other. 4. Eat like you respect yourself. Picture this scene. It's 9 p.m. The kids are finally in bed, the house is quiet, the long, grueling day is over. You're not hungry, you had dinner a couple of hours ago, but you find yourself standing in the dim light of the kitchen, the refrigerator door hanging open. Without thinking, you grab a handful of shredded cheese, or the last piece of cold pizza, or you open the pantry and your hand goes straight into a bag of potato chips. You're not tasting it. You're not enjoying it. You are simply consuming. It's a moment of numbness, a brief escape from the stress of the day. And what follows, almost inevitably, is a wave of quiet shame, a feeling of being bloated, and the self-critical voice that whispers, "Why did I just do that? I have no self-control." For decades, especially for those of us who grew up in the 80s, 90s, and 2000s, we have been bombarded with toxic messages about food. We've been sold countless diets, miracle pills, and workout plans. We've been taught to categorize food into lists of good and bad, to see eating as a battle of restriction and willpower, and to associate our self-worth with the number on the scale. It is an exhausting, soul-crushing way to live. So for this next habit, I want you to do me a favor. I want you to take the word diet and mentally throw it in the trash. This habit has nothing to do with dieting. It is not about restriction. It is not about shame. It is about one simple, revolutionary idea: respect. The habit is to learn to eat like you respect yourself. This is not about what you eat, it is about how you eat. It is about transforming the act of eating from a mindless, often guilt-ridden necessity into a deliberate act of profound self-care. How on earth do we begin to do that in a world of fast food and endless distractions? We start small. In fact, we start with just one meal. For 1 week, I challenge you to change how you eat just one of your meals each day. It could be your breakfast before the chaos begins, or your lunch at work, or your dinner when the day is done. Choose whichever is easiest. During that one meal, I want you to follow a few simple rules. First, create a dedicated space. You will eat this meal sitting down at a table. Not slumped on the couch, not standing over the kitchen sink, and absolutely not at your desk while answering emails. You are creating a space that signals to your brain, this time is for nourishment. Second, for these 15 or 20 minutes, you will have a technology fast. The phone is silenced and placed face down on the other side of the room. The television is off. The laptop is closed. It is just you and your food. This alone will feel revolutionary for many of you. Third, before you take your first bite, I want you to engage your senses, something we almost never do. Just look at the food on your plate for 3 seconds. What colors do you see? What does it smell like? When you take the first bite, don't immediately rush to the next one. Chew slowly. What are the textures? Is it crunchy, soft, warm, cool? Then, and this is the most powerful part, physically put your fork down on the plate between bites. This simple act short-circuits the robotic, shovel it in motion we've become so accustomed to. And finally, begin a conversation with your body that may have been silent for years. Before you start eating, ask yourself on a simple scale of 1 to 10, with 1 being not hungry at all and 10 being absolutely ravenous, where am I right now? Then, about halfway through the meal, pause and ask again. You are not judging yourself or telling yourself to stop. You are simply listening. You are gathering data, learning to hear your body's signals again. This practice of paying attention might sound almost trivial, but what is happening inside your brain and your body during this process is incredibly sophisticated. When you eat quickly and mindlessly, you literally outrun your body's own finely tuned communication system. It takes approximately 20 minutes for your digestive system to process food and release satiety hormones, like leptin and ghrelin. These are the chemical messengers that travel to your brain to deliver the message, hey, we've received sufficient fuel down here. We're good. You can stop now. When you devour a meal in 5 minutes while scrolling through your phone, you completely bypass that signaling system. Your brain doesn't get the message until you are already uncomfortably full, which leads directly to overeating, bloating, and that familiar feeling of regret. The scientific evidence supporting this is compelling. A major meta-analysis, which is a high-quality study that synthesizes the results of many previous studies, was published in the leading journal Obesity Reviews. It systematically analyzed all the research on mindfulness-based interventions for eating. The conclusion was crystal clear: these practices were significantly effective not just for achieving meaningful weight loss, but also for drastically reducing episodes of binge eating and emotional eating. So please understand, this is not some new age wellness trend. It is a scientifically validated method to restore your body's natural intelligence and to break the painful cycle of eating that is driven by stress, boredom, or sadness, instead of by true, physical hunger. My own battle with this was fought on the couch, every night around 9 p.m. After a long, stressful day of putting out fires at work and dealing with the beautiful chaos of family life, my reward was a pint of premium ice cream. I would sit in front of the TV, not even paying attention to the show, and just eat. It wasn't about the taste. It was about the numbness. It was a way to quiet my anxious mind, to push down the worries about tomorrow. And every single night, I would finish the pint and be left with nothing but a stomach ache and a deep sense of frustration with myself. One week, I decided to apply the one meal challenge to this specific habit. Instead of eating out of the carton, I took out a small bowl, put 2 scoops of ice cream in it, and sat at the kitchen table with a spoon. No TV, no phone. It felt ridiculous. I took the first bite, and forced myself to actually taste it. It was sweet, it was cold, it was creamy. I put the spoon down. I took another bite. And about halfway through that small bowl, a shocking realization hit me: I didn't actually want any more. The intense pleasure I thought I was getting wasn't from the ice cream itself. It was from the act of zoning out, of numbing my mind. The ice cream was just the vehicle. I realized in that moment that I wasn't hungry. I was exhausted. I was anxious. I was looking for comfort. The next night, when that 9 p.m. craving hit, I recognized it for what it was: a signal. It was my body telling me I was emotionally distressed, not physically hungry. And instead of walking to the freezer, I put on my shoes and walked around the block. That small shift, that one moment of awareness, broke a cycle that had been running my life for years. It wasn't about willpower. It was about listening. Eating like you respect yourself is not about the food on your plate. It's about the quality of attention you bring to it. It is an act of deep and profound self-care that nourishes not just your body, but your sense of dignity and self-worth. And of course, one of the biggest reasons we eat mindlessly, live mindlessly, and feel so disconnected is because we are constantly seeking a distraction. A distraction provided, almost exclusively, by the glowing rectangles in our hands and on our walls. This leads us directly to our final, and for many of us, the most challenging habit of all. 5. Create boredom. That feeling of being distracted, of being pulled away from the present moment, which often leads to mindless eating, comes almost exclusively from one source: the glowing rectangles we hold in our hands, sit in front of at our desks, and stare at on our living room walls. This brings us directly to our final, and for many of us, most profound challenge. Think about the reflex. You're waiting in line at the grocery store for 30 seconds, and your hand instinctively goes to your pocket. You're sitting at a red light, and you pick it up. The moment a conversation has a natural pause, the moment you feel the slightest twinge of boredom, the phone is in your hand, your thumb already swiping, your brain already seeking that next little hit of information. We scroll endlessly before we sleep, telling ourselves it helps us wind down, and we grab it the second our alarm, which is also on the phone, goes off in the morning, flooding our brains with other people's emergencies and curated perfection before our feet have even touched the floor. And here's the irony: you are watching this very content on a screen. Screens are not inherently evil. They are powerful tools for learning, for connection, for work. But for most of us, we are no longer using the tool. The tool is using us. The result is not just wasted time. It's a low-grade, persistent anxiety. It's the erosion of our ability to focus deeply on a single task. It's the comparison trap, where we measure our messy, real lives against the highlight reels of others. It's the feeling of being constantly connected to 1,000 things, yet truly present for none of them. So, this final habit is not about limiting screen time, which sounds like a punishment, like a parent telling a child they can only have one cookie. This is a radical, intentional, and deeply respectful act. The habit is to intentionally create boredom. We have become so terrified of a single moment of unoccupied thought that we have forgotten that boredom is not a void to be filled, it is an essential, fertile ground for the human mind. It is in the moments of boredom that creativity sparks, that self-reflection occurs, and that we actually connect with the world around us. So, how do we begin to create this space in a hyper-connected world? This is a real addiction for many, so we need a practical, phased approach. The most powerful place to start is by creating boundaries at the beginning and end of your day. I call it the bookends rule. For 1 week, make this a non-negotiable law in your household: no screens for the first hour after you wake up, and no screens for the last hour before you go to sleep. This creates a sanctuary for your mind when it is most vulnerable and impressionable. The single most effective strategy to enforce this is to get your phone out of your bedroom. Period. Go online and buy a cheap $10 alarm clock. Create a central charging station for all family devices in the living room or the kitchen. At a set time each night, all phones go to the charging station, and they do not re-enter the bedrooms until the next morning. This single act removes the biggest temptation. You will no longer be able to scroll yourself to sleep, and you will no longer be able to grab it first thing in the morning. This one change can be utterly transformative. During the day, we need to build mindfulness around the reflexive action of reaching for the phone. So, practice the purposeful pickup. Every single time your hand moves toward your phone, I want you to mentally pause and ask yourself one question: why am I picking this up? Do you have a specific purpose? To call someone? To check the address of your appointment? To respond to a specific text? Or are you simply reaching for it as an escape, a way to avoid the present moment? If you don't have a clear, intentional purpose, just let it lie. You will be astonished at how many dozens of times a day you pick it up for no reason at all. For those ready for a bigger step, I encourage you to try a mini digital Sabbath. Pick a 4-hour block on a Saturday or Sunday. Inform your loved ones that you'll be offline. Then, put your phone on airplane mode and place it in a drawer. And just be. Go for a walk without it. Read a book. Sit in your backyard. Talk to your partner. The initial feeling will likely be a strange, twitchy anxiety. That is the feeling of withdrawal. Acknowledge it, and let it pass. See what comes up in the space you've created. The reason this is all so incredibly difficult, and so incredibly necessary, goes deep into the neuroscience of our brains. Every notification, every like, every new email, every unpredictable reward on a social media feed triggers a release of the neurotransmitter dopamine. Dopamine is the chemical of anticipation and reward. It's what makes you feel good and keeps you coming back for more. It is the exact same neurochemical pathway that governs addictions to gambling, nicotine, and other drugs. The tech companies have engineered their platforms to exploit this, to turn us into addicts of intermittent, variable rewards. We are not weak, we are simply human, and our brains are being expertly hijacked. But the consequences go beyond just addiction. They directly sabotage the other habits we are trying to build. The specific blue spectrum light emitted by our phones, tablets, and computers has been proven in countless studies to directly suppress and delay the release of melatonin, the hormone that signals to your brain that it's time for sleep. A comprehensive review of dozens of studies, published in the journal Sleep Medicine Reviews, confirmed that using these devices in the evening not only makes it harder to fall asleep, but it also disrupts your sleep architecture, reducing the amount of deep, restorative REM sleep you get. So you may lie in bed for 8 hours, but you wake up feeling groggy and unrested. You are literally sabotaging your tomorrow, tonight. My own wake-up call with this was not dramatic, but it was deeply unsettling. I remember sitting on the couch with my wife and daughter, supposedly watching a movie together. It was a Friday night, our family time. But about halfway through, I looked around. The TV was on, but my daughter was on her tablet, my wife was scrolling through her phone, and I had my own phone in my hand, scrolling through work emails I couldn't do anything about at that moment. We were all physically in the same room, but we were mentally and emotionally a million miles apart. When the movie ended, I had almost no memory of the plot, and more importantly, I had made zero genuine connection with the two people I love most in the world. I felt a profound sense of emptiness and shame. The following weekend, I decided to try the digital Sabbath. I put my phone in a drawer on Saturday afternoon. The first hour was awful. I felt anxious, antsy, and incredibly bored. I kept thinking about what I might be missing. I wandered around the house aimlessly. Then, out of sheer lack of anything else to do, I went into our cluttered garage and saw it, an old acoustic guitar I hadn't played since before my daughter was born. I picked it up. It was covered in a layer of dust. I sat down on an old stool and started trying to form a few chords. My fingers were clumsy and stiff. It sounded terrible. But I kept at it. I looked up the chords to an old song I used to love. And then a strange thing happened. I looked up at the clock, and nearly 2 hours had passed in what felt like 20 minutes. I had been so completely absorbed, so fully present in that one activity, that time had dissolved. That was the moment I understood. The boredom I was so afraid of wasn't an empty void. It was the fertile ground. It was the quiet space where creativity, memory, and passion could be rediscovered. I had been trading that rich, fulfilling, deeply human experience for the cheap, empty, digital calories of a social media feed. Creating boredom isn't about taking something away from yourself. It's about giving yourself the most precious gift of all in the modern world. It is the gift of your own undivided attention, the gift of your own thoughts, and the gift of rediscovering the beauty and texture of the real, tangible world that is waiting for you, right in front of you. And that's it. Those are the 5 foundational habits. Reclaiming your mornings, not just to be more productive, but to be more present. Moving your body, not to punish it, but to shift your mind. Writing the unsent letter, not as a diary, but as a sanctuary for your thoughts. Eating like you respect yourself, transforming nourishment into an act of self-care. And finally, intentionally creating boredom, not as an absence of activity, but as the space where your best self can emerge. As I said at the very beginning of our conversation today, these are not 5 magic pills that will make your problems disappear. Life is far more complex than that. Instead, I want you to see them as 5 fundamental building blocks. They are the stones and the mortar. Each day you practice one, you are laying another stone. Slowly, deliberately, and with unwavering intention, you are building an inner fortress. A fortress of mental clarity that can stand against the fog of overwhelm. A fortress of emotional resilience that can withstand the inevitable stings of failure and disappointment. And most importantly, a fortress of profound self-trust that stands firm, even when the very ground beneath you feels like it is shaking. I know this was a lot of information, and the goal is not to wake up tomorrow and perfectly implement all 5 of these habits at once. That's a recipe for failure. The goal is to choose one. Just one. As you listen today, which one resonated the most? Which one sparked a feeling deep inside you that said, that is the key I've been missing? Start there. Commit to just that one habit for 1 week. Don't worry about the others. Just build one wall of your fortress first. Give yourself the gift of a small, achievable win. If this conversation we've had today has meant something to you, if it has sparked a desire to start laying those stones, then please help this message reach others by giving this video a like and subscribing to the channel. Your engagement sends a signal that these kinds of deep, thoughtful conversations are still wanted and are still needed in our fast-paced world. And if one specific person came to your mind while you were watching, a friend, a sibling, a coworker who you know is navigating their own private storm, please consider sharing this with them. You never know how much a single, timely reminder of their own strength can mean to someone. Thank you, truly, for your time and for your attention. It is the most valuable thing you have. Let's keep building. I'll see you in the next video.